equal mc square.
Welcome everyone to our first podcast of the year.
Our first guest for the Law of Conversation is, drumroll please,
Mr. Sheshgiri.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you everyone for having me here. I am Sheshgiri Ji Prabhu. I have been in the academics for the last 15 years. I have had the best education and I was trained by the best in the industry.
Yeah. And so a quick introduction for ourselves. My name is Shrey and
I'm Aditi.
and we both are the president and vice president of the Physics Society. So without further ado, let's quickly get into it. And our first segment will be Mr. Sheshgiri's personal story. Okay. So when we talk about your personal story, obviously we have to relate it to maths and how you were inclined to teach maths. So my question really be, what drew you into this subject? Like any inspiration of that such which inclined you to take up this subject?
I was a normal student. It was the first time that I scored really poorly in my grade 7. And in those days, maths was a very scary subject for me. It was my dad who taught me, and because he was a banker, he used to reach home somewhere about 10, and my maths classes used to begin from 11 till 1:30. Even after my dad teaching me, I scored poorly. And one day I told my dad, my maths teacher does not know anything. And it was my dad who explained me that my maths teacher was a good teacher, I was not a good student. And I asked him, how should I study maths? And he said, maths is all about practice. I started practicing and I started growing. And there was a stage when I could solve each and every problem in the text. The more I solved, the more I wanted to solve.
That was truly inspirational, sir.
Yeah. And just to follow up on that, we really touched upon how your dad really inspired you and kept you intact with math. So were there any particularly memorable moments or experiences, that kept this inclination going towards math? Anything in your mind?
Yeah. There was a phenomenal jump in mathematics when I started from grade 10 to grade 11. And when we were introduced to the concept of calculus, the very first definition of calculus I never understood. Everyone in my class would get solutions to the problems, but none of them would understand what exactly is the concept of limit. When I asked my teacher, he told that the concept of limit is very, very interesting. Try to get to it on your own. And believe me, I took 3.5 years to understand this simple concept of limit. I'll read out the definition. I have not memorized it. A function f of x is said to tend to a limit L if, given epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0, such that modulus of f of x minus L is less than epsilon whenever modulus of x minus a is less than delta. That is, L minus epsilon is less than f of x is less than L plus epsilon whenever a minus delta is less than x is less than a plus delta. That is, f of x belongs to the epsilon neighborhood of L whenever x belongs to the delta neighborhood of a. Now, this definition is the very basic of calculus.
Yeah, to be honest, calculus has definitely troubled
so scary.
all of us in high school.
100%.
But yeah, thank you so much for that. I'm pretty sure that must have helped a lot of viewers as well. Podcast come math class. That was really nice. But thank you so much for that. And yeah, we can move on to the next question.
Moving on to the next question. How was the experience of learning math during your school years like for you?
Like any normal student, maths was equally difficult for me as for the other students. But after my dad's explanation that I have to practice each and everything, I used to do it sincerely, and it is sincerity which matters. The more I practiced, the more I knew, and the foundations became very strong. There was never an exam wherein I scored less than 95%, and this motivated me to go for high scores.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal note, me and Aditi tried to get.
We try to aim for 95% plus.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Maths is all about practice. I mean, I used to try to, study maths, memorize
Yeah,
maths,
conceptually.
but that, never took me
it
anywhere.
did not help.
Yeah.
You should never memorize anything. You should just understand it. You should know that you have understood the concept, and you just need to understand the Pythagoras theorem. You need not solve 2000 problems on Pythagoras theorem. Once you understand the theorem, you can solve any problem based on that.
Yeah, and talking about the Pythagoras theorem, I've always wondered, we've been taught since primary school or secondary school this same theorem constantly. Is there any applications of this theorem or how it will help us, or does it, benefit the understanding of this? Does it help with that? Does it make students understand the concept easier? So how does it really work about the Pythagoras theorem? Because it's one of the most, common terms in mathematics.
One of the most real-world application of Pythagoras theorem is the jaywalking we do on the road. Imagine there is a bus stop across the road. We do not follow the legs of the triangle. We try to reach the bus stop using a diagonal path. Now, in the real world, Pythagoras theorem is very, very useful. For example, when the staircase is laid, if the staircase is a little horizontal, then you have to cover a lot of distance. But if it is at a 45-degree angle, climbing the staircase is easy.
Yeah. So for all the primary school students out there, if you ever wonder why you're learning about this weird theorem, you have an answer. There are real life applications, so don't question your teacher. Yeah. Okay, so with that, we move on to the next question. So I think you did cover this earlier as well, but could you please elaborate even further? So did you have any mentors or idols that really encouraged you to pursue maths or kept you going in the industry?
Yeah. So we had a professor by the name Professor R.D. Bhatt. He was an author of a text, and it was him whom I approached. I told him that I really do not understand what you teach in the class. I understand that it is correct, but I find it difficult to absorb. And my maths teacher, Mr. Bhatt, he told me that in the jungles, when the lion hunts, not every hunt is successful. Now, what does a lion do to jump ahead? He takes 2 or 3 steps behind. So, whenever you do not understand any concept, it is always advisable to go back a few steps, gain the fundamentals, and leap ahead.
Yeah.
That was really motivational. I think we can use that even in our
100%.
yeah. So I think the next question and the last one in this segment would be, who would you say is your idol in the field of mathematics? It can be a mathematician that you look up to from any period of time.
The greatest mathematician of all times, Srinivas Ramanujam Iyengar, was born on the 22nd of December 1887. I remember the story which my teacher told about the taxi cab number 1729, the smallest number which can be represented as the sum of 2 cubes in 2 different ways, 10 cube plus 9 cube and 12 cube plus 1 cube. I was very happy when the first house which I stayed in Singapore bear that number 1729, which is known as the Ramanujam number.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, outside of mathematics, do you have any idols or inspirations?
Of course, when I was a student, my dad was my idol, but my dad idolized one of the greatest industrialists from India, J.R.D. Tata. My dad made me write one beautiful quote which is attributed to J.R.D. Tata. One should always strive for excellence or even perfection in any task, howsoever small it may be, and should never be satisfied with the second best. When my dad explained me what it meant, I always tried to put in my very best in any task, whatever I do, however small it may be. And believe me, when you give in your best, you will receive the best.